Good morning and welcome to our monthly Revenue Study Committee meeting. We will start the meeting off by thanking Paul for doing a great presentation last night on the beach park fees. And then we will see that three of us in attendance today, Paul Sheffield and Ed Farley and myself. And now we will need a motion to approve the minutes from October 21st.
I so move. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So be it. Then we will talk to Ms. Lisa, will present with us the recreation and park recommendation timeline. You and Ed, y'all gonna tag team?
Well, what Lisa and I had discussed, and she discussed with Catherine and Alan Hours, was taking the actual timeline, which has been submitted to everybody, and pushing that. It goes first to the Finance Committee, and we would do that at the first Finance Committee meeting next year.
Right. Correct.
Simply because their agenda and everything is full right now, and to get full consideration of it, it would go to the Finance Committee, then from the Finance Committee, it would go on to the Board of Commissioners for approval of the timeline. Is that correct, Lisa?
Yeah, so the multiple action items and recommendations I put together in just like a grid that could be easily looked at, and identified which ones required a public hearing and which ones did not require a public hearing, and put the recommended implementation time frame for the Board of Commission or for the county. And then I put some staff notes on here just to kind of outline when things could happen and how we could move things forward. So with the most immediate items being the decrease in the Neptune Park mini golf fee for children age 12 and under, and then an additional child discount policy. So those were the two most immediate that would need to go to the process of the Finance Committee and the Board of Commissioners. And then the discount policy would require a public hearing because it's a fee discount that would need to go through a public hearing process. So then some of the other things that were in the recommendations, obviously the recommendations came back in March, so a lot of things we were already kind of easily moving forward with because they were just easy to move forward with. So, and then some of the other ones would be forthcoming in the next couple months, and then later in 2021. And and then some things as we move forward, I consider this a fluid document, and so as things were changing, perhaps with the incoming new commissioners, if they've got priorities or some of these things that maybe are delayed and recommended for delay later into the next year or two, if they wanted to have those things moved up to be considered sooner, then certainly that this is subject to change based on what direction we would get from the board.
So what I'm asking the board is that we pass a motion approving the timeline and what Lisa had stated to introduce this to the elements that need to be introduced to the Finance Committee, and thus after that's been approved on to the Board of Commissioners in 2021.
Okay, we've heard from Lisa and Ed, so we need a motion to accept the timeline that's presented with the understanding it may go into next year because of the new commissioners coming in.
I move that we approve the timeline and also, Lisa, the ability to adjust the timeline as need be as the situation changes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So be it.
You got to squeeze it through.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lisa.
Appreciate all y'all.
Okay, we'll talk in a week or so on that and re-review it, and I think there's some things that are great, okay? Thank you, Lisa. Thank your team again, too.
You too.
Okay, next on our agenda is the fees paid to the fire department by the Air Commission. Chief Jordan, LaShawn Blue presented it to us last month, and we did not have enough information, so we invited you in to give us some insight.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chief Jordan.
The Glynn County Fire Department, I think I'm socially distanced. The Glynn County Fire Department provides crash fire rescue coverage for the airport. We do that under a long-term agreement from years ago for $40,000 a year. the cost, the actual cost of the fire department providing that services, and it takes 3 people, 1 per shift. That's what we have to have, 1 per shift, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That runs me in excess of $160,000 in personnel costs between salaries and benefits. So we're losing money every year at the airport. That doesn't include the overtime for training. So that's even a tad higher. What we're looking at is the airport right now houses a fire engine for us. And we haven't really pushed because they've allowed us to use the station, the airport being a separate entity. And they've let us use it free of charge. This is coming to a head now because they're building a new fire station. We have to pay half the cost. If we have to pay half the cost, I believe it's only fair that they compensate the department for its cost on that we pay. This firefighter is restricted to the airport. He cannot leave.
So when we do our research, we're looking at the fact that a long-term agreement you have with the airport that we provide them with a crash fireman, and we need to compensate. We need to be compensated. They need to compensate their 50%
Yes, ma'am, that's what I would request. If
for
they-
firefighter.
If they would compensate the actual cost. The $40,000 has been in place for quite some time. I have never seen a copy of it. I'm relying on the airport manager on
And they
this.
never paid it?
No, they pay it. It's automatically moved.
Okay.
But I've never seen a copy of the actual contract. The airport manager assures me he has it. And since they have housed an engine there, it's never really been an issue. We had no cost. But with a new station going in and us paying half the cost, then I feel that it's fair that we at least recoup our actual personnel costs.
You had mentioned that the new station going in was located so it couldn't serve another community
Correct.
nearby. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. If they had located the new station across the field by Stanball Aviation, that would have increased our coverage and reduced our response times into a lot of the areas off of Harry Durder's Road. And that would have benefited the department in 2 ways. It would have given us a full view of the runway. It would have allowed us to respond into areas that right now we have a long response time to.
And currently you think the salary, or you saying the salary is $160,000 for that one fire?
If I was going to take a guess, our firefighters, they're more senior, they're more highly trained, $40,000 a year ballpark in salary, 10%
Benefit.
for retirement, and then whatever the benefits would be. So I believe my actual cost for 3 firefighters are closer to $160,000. I don't have the insurance cost, but if memory serves me correctly, it's approximately $12,000 a year. So $12,000 on top of the 40, and then the 10% retirement.
In terms of this, do you know who the contract was between? Was it between the airport commission and the county, or specific to the fire department? Do you know any details about that? Because I guess my concern here is that if this is a contract between the county and the airport commission, which I mean, it's basically kind of a part of the county. I mean, my concern would be that this is something that needs to be negotiated between the commissioners and the airport commission. I'm certainly sympathetic, and I think you should be fairly compensated for what you're putting in over there and have your needs met. I'm just trying to make sure that we have the ability to actually make a recommendation here. This isn't something that has to be decided between the Board of Commissioners and the Airport Commission.
Actually, pretty much everything with us is going to require a commission negotiation because the ambulance fees are also part of it. I will find out, as I say, I've never seen a copy of this agreement. And he termed it an agreement, not necessarily a contract, but I know that it has been in place for some time.
Dana, can we get a copy of the agreement?
I'll look for it.
Have that sent to us and the chief, so we'll get it for you. And I'd like to see it and review
We
it before our
review
next
it
meeting.
before, and then we have to do our own, the research, and then we still have to present it to the Board of Commission for them to approve or deny.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this time, and until the new station is built, it's really not much of an issue. But new station, I believe, construction completion was scheduled for '23, which means they'll be starting next year.
So that's when this will start.
Yes, sir. I'm just seeking.
You're getting on it early, because you see it
Yes, sir.
coming out.
I'm just seeking approval
Putting out the fire before it starts.
Yes, sir.
And do you think that 50% obligation for the fire department, is that tied into that contract, do you think, the whole agreement that?
No, sir, this is completely.
That's completely different.
A separate issue.
Okay.
They, as I'm told, the FAA will pay X number of dollars for the portion of the station dedicated to aircraft rescue firefighting. And since we're going to house an engine and an ambulance there, the FAA won't pay for that portion, so it'll be fire department responsibility.
Any other questions for Chief Jordan?
No, I think we get the contract, take a look at it. I'd also like to have that conversation with County Manager Hours and see what his thoughts are based on some of the conversations. Really, where does the jurisdiction does this fall? But we'll at least get the conversation started. We've got a little time to get it done.
Yes, sir.
But we need to address it in some way.
And don't we need to contact airport commissioners too to see their stance?
Yeah, I think County Manager can do that
Okay.
for us.
Yeah, I think that's a good
Don't you
idea.
agree, Paul?
Yeah,
I don't want to
so.
get involved with all the different commissioners, and I mean, that's your final decision, Madam Chairman, but I
agree with you.
Thank you.
As I say, we're just seeking approval to at least have this considered.
Right.
On a higher level.
Yeah, and I think, we'll get it moving.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you for your
Chief
service.
Jordan, for your service
Thank
and for great presentation, giving us the inside details of what we need to do and look into, and we will follow up with it with the county administrator and the contract.
Right, yeah, and hopefully at the next meeting in January.
Yes, our next meeting is scheduled for January 20th, so hopefully we have a little time between the Thanksgiving turkey and the Christmas ham to get it done.
All right, well, thank you very much. I appreciate your
Thank
time.
Yep, thank you.
One of us may be back in touch with you individually once we read the contract for some of the
Yes.
questions, if you don't mind, Chief.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Eddie. Is there anything else on our agenda that we need to bring before us that's not on our agenda?
Yeah, Dana, you'll take note that our December meeting, we're going to push out to January, just because it's a difficult time to meet. By then, we'll all have the vaccination, so we can take these off.
Right.
Joking.
Keep your fingers crossed.
We have to joke, huh? That's it?
I think so.
All hearts and minds clear, so like I'm in church. Anything else we need to discuss before we adjourn? If not, we'll receive the information from Dana and the county administrator, Mr. Ars, and we will go from there. And our next meeting will be January 20th. Meeting adjourned.